We're in the trial square where a permitted event took place at this location. The preliminary investigations suggest that during the event, 2 armed men attempted to rob patrons at this location. They were challenged by licensed firearm holders. As a result of the shooting, 2 men were shot and killed. 2 firearms recovered. The identities of the men have not yet been confirmed. However, one of them has an ID which is from a Kingston address. This community is a very quiet community, the trial area, and the residents woke up this morning to this kind of news. And so we want to appeal to persons who wish to commit offences in the St. Elizabeth Division to desist from doing so and to allow good order to be maintained. As it is now, the scenes of crime persons are on the location. The scene is being processed and the investigation will continue. We have now been able to identify the 2 men involved in this incident. One has been identified as Christophine Gardner, the other is Chevron Hall O.C. Munga. Both men are from Clarendon addresses. They have also been featured in several robberies in the St. Elizabeth Division. And so we will continue to this investigation to determine a third person that we believe was involved in this incident. One person has now been picked up as a suspect and is being processed by the CIB. We continue the investigation surrounding this incident.
We're really delving into a very serious issue. We're discussing this morning whether our citizens and organizations are supporting. All right, let's try that again, guys. Come, run the prompter again. Are our citizens and organizations supporting or failing to condemn our forces, our security forces? Joining us this morning, we have criminologist Dr. Jason Mackay with us this morning. I guess this is out of the protest that would have been held the other day by the Jamaicans for Justice.
In Harvard, yeah.
I found it very interesting how that whole thing unfolded, who was encouraging who to wear blue, who was wearing black, and why it is that the 2 things couldn't coexist. Because we can support our security forces while condemning extrajudicial killings, while condemning abuse of power, no?
Well, yeah, the thing is, you have to have some material to be going forward. At the point in time, the fight against the gangs is actually going in our direction. You know, we are actually winning as a country.
Right.
And now that we're winning, you come and you protest for something that you don't have anything tangible that has not gone your way. It's not that you're saying, okay, this and this has happened, and it has been ruled on by Indicom, and the office of the DP hasn't done anything or anything like that. There's nothing tangible putting forward. There is a war going on. You're fighting these gangs, there's 10,000 of them, and they kill over 1,000 people a year. You're going to expect combat. And it's not that you're looking at some aspect of the combat and saying, this should have been done here, and it hasn't been done. You have an investigative arm for police shootings, and if that investigative arm is carrying out its investigation and making recommendations, and the recommendations are being followed, it still has to go to a higher point. But there's no tangible reason other than just to say, I'm going to protest.
Is that fair to say there's no tangible reason, though, Jason? Because there are so many cases. You're right, we're waiting for rulings on a lot of them.
No, but they're pretty quick.
There are cases in train. There are many Jamaicans who've been killed since the start of the year by police, and some of the circumstances around those are not clear. So when you say they have no tangible...
No, but there is an investigative arm that is independent. And that arm has been empowered to conduct investigations.
This is Indicom now.
Indicom, and very much a support group. There's very much a relationship exists between Jamaican for Justice and Indicom. Jamaican for Justice asked for this organization to be brought into existence. It exists. So I can understand if you're protesting a ruling that they made that perhaps was not being followed. And even if it is not being followed, it's not their remit to say that it must be followed. There's a higher office that determines if prosecutions are going to happen. You're just picking out a figure and saying it's too high. Well, what's the magic number? You have a group of people able to kill 1,000 people a year, every year since the year 2000, and you've now equipped a group to fight this group. to engage them, to stop them from killing 1,000 people a year, then what is the magic number of police shootings that is okay for you? Because 0 is not realistic.
I don't know if there's a magic number, but usually we work on year over year and we look at baseline and increase.
But that's naive. Because operations determine, police operations are what determines contact. Contact determines the combat. And when you have and that is when persons get hurt or killed, you know? You're going to have to see the more police operations you have, you're trying to get to guys with all these rifles and guns, you're going to have more combat. And then at that point in time, that is then you're going to find persons being hurt or killed. Mm-hmm. It's unavoidable if you're going to engage this group. You can take another alternative and budget and negotiate with them for rights of government, because that's where Haiti is going now. And that's where we could go. So when we, as the good people of the country, are fighting this small subset called the gangs, and then among us, a group of good people come out and protest without a tangible issue other than just a number, then it is in effect almost collaborating with them.
In your article, you got very heavy. I mean, you mentioned Nazi Germany, you mentioned South Africa's apartheid. What are you trying to say to Jamaica here?
What you must understand is context. You're looking at environments with incredibly negative forces that existed. Apartheid, South Africa, Nazi Germany. These are groups that went into other person's environment and did extremely negative things, brutal things. And then within those groups, those countries that they went in, there were persons within that country that supported, that openly supported them and empowered them. So it is just showing you the relationship between, and it was really a thing to say, I don't understand how this group in Poland, in France, and in South Africa really, and I even mentioned the Caribbean cricketers, actually did something to support these oppressive forces. I couldn't understand why they do it. I still can't understand why Jamaican for Justice does it. It's not that you're comparing the impact of Nazi Germany to the gangs. Nazi Germany was brutal. The gangs are brutal. And the capability that the Nazis have obviously would be significantly more than a Jamaican gang member. But they're just as brutal.
You just mentioned collaboration in speaking with the JFJ. You're not suggesting that they're on the side of the gangsters, are you?
No, but they are very much empowering them. This type of support.
In what way?
Because the gangsters feed off of it. When they see that there is a group that supports them, they feed off of it.
But
because the group was out. The group comprised also family members of folks who've been cut down by the police who are still waiting for answers for years. I just wonder if your characterization
Indicom at no point in time takes years to do an investigation. They're extremely efficient at investigation.
So you're saying the family members who were out there who were saying that they can't have answers are not telling the truth?
They're not telling the truth, or they don't like the answers they've gotten. That is probably more like it. But when it comes to completing their investigations, and it's not that I'm a big supporter of Indicom, because I'm not, but I'll give them this. They're very efficient and very effective in their investigations, and they finish them within a reasonable time. You may not like the result of the investigation.
How do I feel as a family member now, Jason? I mean, who is hearing you say what you say and saying that I'm not telling the truth when I'm out there saying I want answers for my family member? I mean, I understand your position. No, I don't think any of us as well thinking Jamaicans support gangs or support organizations that support gangs. And I'm not saying that I think JFJ does, because I do not believe that. But I don't know if it's a lack of empathy I'm hearing, or if it's that you just feel so strongly about the position that you are.
Well, let me give you it very clear.
Yes.
I in no way, shape or form believe that the values of Jamaican for Justice are interlinked with the values of the gangs.
Okay.
I do not
We
believe
just want to
that.
make that clear.
But I also don't believe that they genuinely are interested in the human rights of Jamaican citizens.
You don't?
No, I don't. Because if
What
they
do you
did,
think their agenda is?
there are persons who want to protest the state. There are persons who are career human rights supporters. But if you really and truly were interested in human rights, that protest will be taking place at De La Vega City or at Tars Pen.
Which is what you
The
said.
headquarters of gangs that are thousands in numbers.
You said, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If this group had any interest whatsoever in the human rights of Jamaican citizens, then they would be protesting the gangs that have killed 231 for this year already. If they find that the gangs are so deserving, then by extension, why are the victims of the gangs so undeserving of their activism? They need to stop ignoring this question. The Klansman gang has for decades subjugated the rights of Jamaican citizens in Spanish Town, and you're saying they should go to De La Vega.
They can go and protest, and I guarantee if they apply for a permit for an event to hold a legal protest, they will get protection from the police.
Can they do both? Can they protest the police killings
Of
peacefully
course.
and also...
They can
what you're
protest. They can
suggesting?
protest the activities of all of these major gangs if they want to protest.
So you're suggesting you've only heard their voice when it comes to the police. Is that what you're saying?
I cannot recall hearing them condemning the activities of the gang members, but I can say without a shadow of a doubt, if they did it, it's nowhere as loud as their condemnation.
Well,
of the armed
recently the police officers who were shot in Denham Town, they came out. They came out and said they didn't like that at all. They came out and said that.
Okay, so why didn't they go and protest the gangs in Denham Town who shot the cops? Again, they can have peaceful, protected protests.
What is the
anywhere they
mandate
choose.
of the JFJ?
It is supposed to be to protect the human rights of Jamaican people, not just against state offences.
So you're saying what's going on with the, people say extrajudicial killings, but what's going on, you have no problem, you don't see any problem with it at all?
It's an expectation of combat. We are going to have good persons, police officers and soldiers injured in combat. You're going to have criminals who engage in combat with the police also injured. This is a normal expectation. There is other ways, you could negotiate property with them. You could negotiate a piece of Jamaica and give them, You can negotiate part of your taxes to be paid to them. But these are the alternatives you're looking on, Remember Northern Ireland? The person sitting in Parliament right now was previously one of the terrorists, Adams, So you can go that route. As I said, I see Haiti within a few years going that route with the situation they're having with barbecue, where they're going to probably at some point have to go to a negotiation table with him. Jamaica wasn't too far from that pre-2010, where all the gangs coming under one head and being able to now actually activate for a position in Parliament or activate for some the actual power, real power. This particular organized crime gangs in Jamaica are extremely powerful. They're extremely well armed and they're getting better armed. This isn't a point in time for any of us as good people to be coming out and giving them strength in any way, shape, and form. And although we may disagree as to as to motives and career choices and so on, one thing for sure is that don't believe me on this. How it empowers the gangs, you can't imagine when they see this type of action.
JFJ's mandate focuses on advocating for state transparency, accountability, and overall good governance with a primary focus on victims whose rights have been breached by agents of the state, specifically members of security forces, police and soldiers. So actually they're squarely within pockets when they do.
But a bad mandate doesn't mean it can't.
You think that's a bad mandate?
How can you not look on the most oppressive group in the history of Jamaica? For 50
who holds them
years.
accountable, Jason, if nobody's in place?
But we're not saying that they mustn't look towards state excesses. But you can't say that you're genuinely interested in the human rights of Jamaican citizens and you plan to play no part at all in activating against the biggest proponent of violence against Jamaican citizens. It just can't work. It can't fit in the same square.
Well, their mandate is state.
That doesn't make it right. Okay, so their mandate is state, and they're within their mandate. But that means that they are not genuinely interested in defending the rights of Jamaican citizens if they have if they have left out the biggest offender of the group.
But okay, do we have the time? Because what I'm just trying to backtrack. The context of the JFJ being born unless I'm going back to a place where we don't know, do you know, was it because of excessive police killings? Why? Was it a need to try and figure out why it was happening?
I mean, it was another human rights organization that came back from that
So are you saying then that you don't think there's any point where we should be looking into matters that seem to be concerning? I
have not said anything like that here.
Okay.
And neither have I written. There is a place for any group to exist. But in a time of war, when thousands of people, thousands, we're not talking tens, or hundreds, we're talking thousands of people have been killed, good, innocent people have been killed, that we are at this point deciding we're going to divide and have a protest against the state.
You said the timing is bad.
Huh?
Are we in a time of war now?
We've been at war for the last 50 years. Now we're taking it seriously. Now we're actually winning. If this could continue, with what is happening now, because the biggest hit to fighting crime in this country was a demotivated police force. Yeah. And for years, everything was done to demotivate it, to include Jamaican for Justice. Now at this point in time, what you're seeing is almost 18,000 persons out there every day, actively working towards a cause. Now, when you see somebody who you consider a decent citizen standing up and protesting against you, that works to demotivate the persons who are putting their life on the line every day and their family's life.
Gotcha.
Thanks for your service. No, thank you. Thanks for your service.
I see the numbers going down, so we are, we never always says we thank our officers for their service, because we know it can't be an easy job.
No, man, the sacrifice is incredible, man. The sacrifice you see happening out there is incredible. The risk to the families of the lawmen, I mean, I have served with lawmen whose children have been killed because of their police work. So just remember, it's not a job that makes you wealthy, So a lot of time you're fighting a policeman who doesn't have the means to own a bulletproof car or to live out of a community where or even drop his children to school. So he's really putting his family on the line here. So the last thing you want to do when you're being worked to a frazzle like they are now and actually achieving this is to see a group of people who you respect, and that is the big thing with Jamaican for Justice. And if you look in the group of Jamaican for Justice, there are people out there who I would consider friends of mine, who are in that group, peer groups, academic equivalents, and so on. They who are part of this movement. So when you see that as a policeman who knows that you're not dropping your child to school today because at 4 a.m. you have to be at the station to go and raid a squatter settlement, we are already combating the illegal light with the possibility of electrocution, the possibility of getting shot and everything. And now a group of somebody who probably taught you at university or taught you at school is out there holding a placard against you. It is very demotivating. Yep.
Hopefully we'll get someone from Jamaican for Justice to respond to Dr. Mackay.
Should get us both here at the same time.
Yeah, that would be the right shot, actually.
Criminologist Dr. Jason Mackay, thanks again for your service, sir. And thanks for coming this
morning. Very passionate about his position.
Hi guys, once again, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm your host Larry. And please remember, if it's for the first time you're coming across my video or my channel, please consider giving me a subscribe to my channel, a like and a comment on my videos. Your support means so much to me. Your support is the reason why it keeps me motivated to give you more and more videos. Now, in this video, I want us to talk about, or rather that was Dr. Jason Mackay, a Jamaican criminologist. Well, he has talked over the insecurities and, or other crimes and insecurities and violence in Jamaica. He has highlighted a few things that I believe you clearly understand, and I'll be breaking down just a few points that he has talked of. Now, for one, I have to say this. I know this is a Jamaican-based issue, but I feel like it kind of relates to mostly everywhere in the world. Like the different countries they are experiencing the same things, the same scenes that Dr. Mackay has talked of. Now, for one, we know, or rather he has talked of the government. Some people who are in charge, or rather in power in the government, funding criminals. And now, for one, or rather, that's just plain truth. Because same case, like I'll talk about my country too. The same thing is happening here in my country. They have government officials who feel like they have the highest authorities, and now they command or rather use police officers to do their dirty works. Recently, we've seen in Kenya, we had a protest. They were peaceful protests, but in return, a lot of lives were lost. And this comes as a result of these cops, dirty cops that are being used by these politicians. The politicians order or rather pay these police officers, crooked police officers, to come and cause havoc, firing live rounds, ammunition to innocent civilians. So, about the issue of government officials funding crimes in our countries, that's for sure true. And also, we can agree that there are also those government officials, individuals who smuggle weapons in the countries. They are the reasons to why, or rather they cause the country to destabilize by smuggling in weapons. For instance, we know of these politicians. Those are the major people who cause a lot of havoc and dirty works in our countries. Because in this case, we find that a politician, he gets defeated during an election, and during this process, he can't just concede the defeat and take it in. But you find out that he now pays these as little gangs here and there to destabilize and cause or rather disrupt the peace that the country is having. A government official, instead of just causing these havoc, instead of distracting the country's peace, instead of destabilizing the country through smuggling in weapons, funding these terrorists, funding these goons, criminals in our countries, which at the end of the day we know lives will be lost, innocent lives will be lost. Why don't you just embrace the defeat, for instance, when it comes to an election, and just suck it in, stomach it, because that's at the end of the day, during a competition, there must be a winner and a loser. But in this case, don't be termed as a loser. Be termed as a learner. You don't actually have to return it back to the innocent civilian citizen. They had their reasons why they did not pick you. So when you, in return, decide to fund goons, criminals, to cause a lot of mass killings in the country, you're just destabilizing the country. So I didn't have much to say in this video, but I'd love to hear from you, my Jamaican people, because since this video really concerns you, now engage me in the comment section. Tell me what you think about the country's security, or rather insecurity in your country. How is the government dealing with this incident? So once again, please consider subscribing to my channel. If you're yet to subscribe to my channel, like my videos, comment and share. Your support means so much to me. I'm your host Larry, and until we meet again in my next video, peace out and one love.